Time of year can bring a mix of emotions for students heading back to school. It can mean excitement about new opportunities, but also obviously the stress about the unknown. To help us understand some of the common sources of stress for students, we're joined by Diana Martin with Kids Help Phone. Diana, it's great to have you in studio.
Thanks for having me.
So transitioning from summer to the school year, it can be tough on everyone, but why in particular is this especially tough for students?
It's a big change, and it can bring about a lot of emotions. There's a lot of young people who are really excited about going back to school, and then there's a lot who they're nervous, they're afraid. Maybe it's a new school they're starting. Maybe they had a difficult time with their peers, maybe bullying before they left at the end of the school year. So going back to that can cause a lot of anxiety and worry.
That word, bullying, it strikes fear in my heart as a parent. It's the toughest thing, I think, about being a parent when your kids are away because you can't protect them and shelter them. So as a parent, what are some of the things we should be looking out for?
I think one big thing is just opening up the conversation and being curious. So if you're not sure how your kids are feeling, if they haven't really shared how they're feeling about going back to school, just a great opening is to just ask how they're feeling. Rather than, I think sometimes we might say as parents, are you feeling excited? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling nervous? But instead, just by actually not naming an emotion and just opening up the question, it can give that young person the freedom to actually say what their word is, and know that you're open to hearing that. But often just being really curious and open like that can help.
That's a great point. I think so often we try and be open to what they're saying, but then we name it for them.
Yeah.
And you take away that autonomy that they would have to be able to say, actually, no, I'm not excited. I'm feeling A, B, or C.
Yeah. And then if your child or the young person that you're caring for comes to you and does open up about those things, then that gives you the opportunity to hear them out and listen and figure out together, maybe with them, what they'd like to do about the situation and what might relieve some of those worries that they have.
I think as adults, we face a lot of big fears. We see a lot of the big headlines and these big stresses, and so it can be really easy to minimize what our kids are going through because their problems seem small compared to maybe the problems we're facing, whether it comes to financial or whatever. So what are some examples of these big problems that kids are facing, that they are dealing with?
Yeah, a lot of kids are dealing with feelings of anxiety, maybe feelings of depression. But the other thing is all that information that we have as adults, young people have so much access to it now. And so there's a lot of worries, climate change worries, young people who are being impacted by flooding, by wildfires, what they see in the news around racism, homophobia, transphobia, different violence that's happening in the world. Those are all things that young people have so much access to now. So in addition to a lot of those stresses that you expect young people to be dealing with, friendships, relationships, struggles in school, the pandemic, a lot of young people now are struggling in school more than they were. If you put all those things together and then on top of it add those stresses that as adults we're seeing out in the world, we're seeing in the news, it can be incredibly overwhelming for young people.
Yeah, and I think as a kid, you have this sense like, I've got to change the world. And that can, like right away you think, okay, if you have that feeling and then all of these stresses, that can feel really overwhelming.
Well, and I think that that's actually a really great opportunity of where parents can talk to their kids if they are expressing those worries, is actually saying, is there something that you feel you'd want to do? Even if they get involved at a school, let's say, with cleaning up a park, you know, having some way that they can actually make their mark and impact, if they're concerned about the environment, to actually play a role in helping that can be a really great thing for young people too.
That's such a good tool for parents of how they can support their kids by asking, how do you want to get involved or what would you like to do? Yeah. What are some of the other ways you suggest that parents or caregivers can support their young person in their life?
I think understanding that what their problems, even though if they seem small or seem like the kind of problem that kids just always deal with. You know, I think it's easy sometimes to say, well, this is part of being a kid, this is part of growing up. Is actually, if a parent or a caregiver can sort of pause and go, I remember what that was like, and maybe validate that for the young person. Maybe share some of their stories of how they overcame or dealt with some of these struggles as well can really help.
Diana, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
My pleasure.
We want to remind our viewers, if you are struggling or if you know someone who is, the team at Kids Help Phone is here for support. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and this is completely free. You can reach them at 1-800-668-6868 or go to their website, kidshelpphone.ca, for more. Coming up after the break. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.